August the 23rd, 2023. As we've had a change in this peak storm surge forecast, in the area where it's purple right here, where they're predicting the storm to come in, which is now, I think, at 85 miles per hour, we'll check that out. The peak storm surge was up from 7 to 11 feet. It was in the red right here. You see from Yankeetown to Chattahoochee. Anyway, that red area was across here at 7 to 11 feet. Now we're going from 10 to 15 feet, guys. That's 4 foot more water coming in along this area than predicted. Remember, you got, as y'all were pointing out in the comments, the blue moon with the king tide. But what's happening, I think they're predicting the storm to rapidly intensify now. But guys, if you're on the beach or a few feet above the beach up to where you're kind of on the level ground, put a tape measure up or look at around you and see where 15 foot is. Most of your ceilings in your home are 8 foot. And at 15 foot, if you were to get flooded and go into your attic, you would be trapped in the attic with very little space on a one-story building or home, whatever you're in. So it's just another reason to get out. Now, you can see that 3 to 5 foot in the yellow, 4 to 7 feet in the orange. In this red area, 7 to 11. Again, it comes all the way back to Mexico Beach in the 1 to 3 foot levels. Also, where the storm's going to exit back into the Atlantic from Flagler to the mouth of the St. Mary's River, 1 to 3 feet. But from Georgia and much of South Carolina, 2 to 4 foot, then going back to 1 to 3 feet from the South Santee River up to Surf City, North Carolina. Right here's going to be the problems, guys. And really, 7 to 11 foot and 6 to 9 foot is nothing to play with. 5 foot is nothing to play with if you've got boats and small craft harbors and marinas and things like that. So I said it last night, today's your last day to make your changes and movements and make sure everything is tied down and secure. If I had a small boat in this area, it would have been on the trailer yesterday or today and going north or northwest. The larger boats, you're going to have to tie them down. Again, I mentioned that some people move them up into the upper bays or rivers. I don't know how much that's going to help you, but I do know that during Hurricane Sally, my friends that had some of the commercial fishing boats in Perdido Key down at Southwind Marina went up into the rivers, and they made it when not much else did. The marina was not there when they came back. I was there the next day checking it out. But that's not the only change. I want to point out a couple of other things. Get out of this area. Now, let's take a look at these satellite images. The storm is starting to spread out now, like we said. Once it got out of that Yucatan and Cuba opening, it would start to do that. You're starting to see pretty good storms now coming into Tampa Bay and in this area. Look right here, guys, all along the Alabama, Florida coast, here even into southeast Mississippi. Everybody needs the rain. But all of this is going to continue to build up. So you're getting moisture now. So whatever additional rainfall that comes in is going to stack on top of that. So it's not just storm surge. You've got to worry about inland flooding too. One of the things I want to point out is I've got this overlaid with the barometric pressure lines. And let me pull this up just a moment so I can stop it. Now, I'm going to pause it here. Again, these are lines of barometric pressure. 106 is the lowest in the area, 108, 110 here, going out past that, 112. So the lowest pressure that it's sensing now is in this direction. And there is a slight wobble to the left at the end of the frames. And in this morning's video, I think it was the Navy model guys that showed that bending out to the left before it routed back to the right or to the east. But right now, as it comes out, I will point out where the center of circulation is. In the last few frames, you will see this change and the opening in the 110 area also a little more to the west. And so we're going to pay attention to that. But let's play this forward. Again, you see where your low pressure is at 106. That would be the path of least resistance for the storm. Play it forward. Here's your center right here. Now watch as we go through the... Notice how it wobbles to the left right there. There's our centers that comes up, it just crosses that. That's going to wobble to the left, and you're seeing the 110 pressure open up this direction. I'll stop it there. And I think that's what maybe the Navy model was anticipating. Right here. A slight wobble to the left, and here it's 110 as far as your pressure, 112 here. This is the low pressure side here. And that's why I think we're seeing that wobble. The Navy is anticipating that to close back, and it moved back into the Big Bend area of Florida right here. Now, again, you're getting some storms along the coast. Let's play this forward again. Speed it up just slightly, and there's your 110, and as it moves to the west, the storm starts to drift that way. It's kind of hard to tell. Another thing that I think is important is this is the first time Idalia has had a chance to completely wrap the center with supercells. We'll take a look at that. Now, switching satellite images, guys, notice how wide this area is right here. Again, just take it and lay it over Florida. You can see it's as wide as the state is in any location. As I play it forward, you see it's coming out of from the infrared to natural color as the sun rises. Again, there's your storm moving east, Franklin there. But the supercells, you can see this explosion, then they start to wrap right there. Now, let me change something on this filter. Now, the modeling is just a few frames behind the actual satellite images. By the time they get the data coming in from the storm, it's just a little behind it. But you can see this is called supercell, the filter is, and it's showing where the strongest storms are. Now, in this image, this was the first supercell activity that it has started. Now it's getting to be a strong Category 1 hurricane. But guys, this shows it everything on one side, and it's a little behind the visual images. But in the next frame, you'll see it completely wrapped in supercells right here. Notice that, and this is the first time this has happened. So it's strengthening. You'll see this go away as it recycles, and then it's going to as it does that, it's going to come back stronger and stronger. Looking at the water vapor, we know we got a 15-foot storm surge coming up into the Big Bend of Florida. Now, notice how dry it is, except where the white clouds are and the purple ones. Everything else is much drier, but this amount of rain on top of a 15-foot storm surge is going to cause a lot of inland flooding. When your storm surges get that high, your bays and rivers don't drain out into the ocean. They start backing up, right? Then dump all of this water on top of it, and you know what you got. You got a lot of trouble. And this tailing or trailing edge here on this outflow is going to follow the storm. It could follow it for a day or two. Every time we've seen one come into Florida, anywhere, you're going to see a lot of rain follow the initial storm and a lot of tornadoes popping up in this area. So guys, today, start looking for that in these outer bands. Now, the computer model update came in at 12 p.m. Notice that. Here's your Canadian model right there in the lighter green. That's the furthest to the north and west. And the Navy model is starting to follow that westward movement. A little less pressure on the lower sections of the Big Bend area, but it still means the worst side of the storm is going to be here. But the further north, that's just telling you that Apalachicola, you're going to get a lot of wind coming in, and the worst weather will start coming in from your north, because the storm is going to be spinning this way, and you're going to see a lot of north wind blowing the tide out, things like that along the surface, and then as it comes around, you'll get the other side of it. Now, let's look at the tracking from Sky Tower down in Florida. Again, 85 mile per hour winds, north at 14 miles per hour. I think I saw a slightly northwest drift there. This is 11 a.m. advisory. But in the video this morning, this Cat 3 was setting much further offshore, maybe 100 miles, and the wind speed was at 120. And I was saying that between that distance from shore and the shoreline, that it would have time to strengthen. So now at Wednesday at 8 a.m., it's a 125 mile per hour storm. And so that's showing you that we're correct on that point, that with that much distance they're going to see that increase. 130 is a Cat 4. So your gusts are going to be Cat 4 because this is sustained wind speed, 125. But guys, this is going to be so close to a Cat 4. It's just more emphasis on getting out of that area. Now let's take a look at the Canadian model. You'll see that it was the pale green line in the spaghetti models that was the furthest to the top, or the furthest to the north and west. Right there, almost hitting Apalachicola, just to the right of it, just like their model. Now watch it come back into Florida. Looks like it comes over just south of Lake Okeechobee there, back into the Gulf. What will happen at that point if this model holds up? Strange weather indeed, isn't it, guys? But you folks in the comment section name probably 8 or 10 storms that have done this before. So guys, if you haven't seen the video from earlier today, check that out. It isn't the first storm to do this, but notice it does make it back across the Florida Peninsula intact as far as low pressure. We'll just have to go from there with it. Here's Franklin skirting across the north side of Bermuda right there. This storm was predicted to follow it. We'll just have to see which model is correct. Now, let's take a look at the Navy model. Right there as it comes across, it's just slightly to the right or to the east of the Canadian model tracking. See it right there? The Canadian model is just a little further, but that means all of the area to the right of this is going to be hardest hit, and you're all the way really into Mobile. You're going to start seeing northerly winds at this point coming from behind you. But we'll just step this through right there. And this model does show it following Franklin, by the way. High pressure, it beats that and goes in behind it. Check that out. But guys, that's what we're looking at now as far as the updates. Again, the main thing to me was the 15-foot storm surge. 4 foot in addition to what was expected is a lot. That's halfway up your walls. So guys, again, do everything you can to get out of that area. Let me know in the comments how many of you that live there are heeding these warnings. Or do you plan to stay and ride it out, or are you going to try to evacuate out of there? If so, as the storm's coming in, I'll try to keep possibly even some live updates on in case, well, not in case of, you're going to lose power in the Big Bend area. It's automatic. And then you won't be able to go to your TV unless you have some backup generator of power or solar power, something that you can put it on and watch the actual weather if the TV stations in your area are still on, because that can happen. But you can get news like from CNN or something like that if you have power. I know that's not a good reference, but something outside of your area. Fox down, it may still be on 13 there, Fox 13. And so just keep an eye on that, but we'll try to keep some live updates coming here, or close to live as we can, and let you know what's going on. But we're watching this, guys. Again, let us know if you plan to evacuate, or you're going to stay behind, or if you have friends and family in this area, please encourage them to move out of that, get a motel room or get with some friends for a few days, and let's see what happens. Maybe not much to come back to right along the coastline. And we're watching it. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.